The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. Should you buy it? Welcome to a review series called Late Reviews, in which we play and review games sometime after their release date to see if they're worth a buy in the current state that they're in. If this review helps you out in any way, or you want to see more, make sure to leave a like or even subscribe to the channel if you're really feeling it. This review will be in the 21:9 aspect ratio to give you that cinematic feel, and also because it's the native resolution of my monitor and it makes it far easier to record. Now, Skyrim Special Edition was released in October 2016 and was a graphically upgraded version of the original Elder Scrolls V Skyrim game, released in November of 2011. Skyrim is an action role-playing game that can be played in either third or first person and was developed by Bethesda Game Studios. Now I just want to let you guys know that everything you'll see in this video is vanilla Skyrim, so no mods or anything, but there is an absolute crap ton of mods and everything out there, so if you want to improve graphics, gameplay, all of that, it is very possible if you get this game that you will be able to completely change it. As usual, this game will be split into various categories, starting as always with graphics. I was running the game on an RTX 2080 Super at 3440 by 1440 resolution with the graphics turned to max. I also made a slight few game file adjustments in order to play the game at this resolution as it doesn't support it natively. Honestly, this game really surprised me with how it looked due to it being more or less a 9-year-old game with just some upgraded textures and lighting with the special edition. As you may be able to tell by now, my favourite thing to look at in a game is its landscapes and environments, and they look absolutely incredible in this game. Everything comes together to form this beautiful world of Skyrim. I was constantly stopping to look at the mountains in the distance and admire the night sky on a long haul trip to a quest. Despite having relatively realistic graphics, the game has a very slight stylistic look to it when it comes to characters and some creatures, which I honestly reckon helps the game to look good even when some of the textures get a bit outdated. As with almost all games this large, you'll notice that certain objects and locations within the world have pretty low resolution textures attached to them. Usually when objects can't be interacted with or are in an area that most players wouldn't look into too much. Most objects look a little rough on both their texturing and meshes when you get too close to them and really take a look, but if you're just playing the game and not examining them like I was, it shouldn't really be an issue for you. The game can also look a little rough from a distance if you're looking at the large areas. It can look very low texture and the models can appear very low quality from a distance. The lighting looks pretty incredible most of the time, and when using spells, it really lights up the area around you. Sometimes you'll find some awesome looking god rays shining down through the trees, and I am a sucker for a sexy god ray, I'll tell you that. Overall, this game really surprised me with how it looks, and despite a few shortcomings in texturing, it looks pretty great. Next up, we have the atmosphere and immersion. Will this game suck you in and make you really feel as if you're part of the world of Skyrim? The world of Skyrim honestly feels like nothing else. It's such a magical and awe-inspiring world that I honestly don't think you'll find almost anywhere else. Compared to other massive open world RPGs such as The Witcher 3, which are slightly more grounded in reality, the world of this game just feels like much more of a fantasy and mysterious world that you'll really want to explore every inch of, and this definitely immerses you like crazy. NPCs will make comments regarding what race you're playing as, and will often address you differently depending on your standing with specific towns and cities. You can go pretty much anywhere in the world, including climbing almost unscalable mountains if you move and jump at the right angles, which is janky as heck, but makes the world feel real with the lack of invisible walls. As most RPGs, the immersion of this game is reduced ever so slightly with health bars of both enemies and yourself, the magicka and stamina bar, and the compass at the top of the screen. But they are necessary for this type of game, so I really don't think it takes too much away. One last thing that I'll mention, which bugged me a little bit, is that enemies would often not be able to hear you from about 5 meters away, even if you were killing everyone around you. If they were in a different room or the door was simply closed, they just had no idea you were there, which made it feel a little weird at times. But altogether, the world of Skyrim absolutely nails the atmosphere and makes you never want to stop exploring everything the amazingly huge world has to offer. Next up, we have a major contributing factor to the atmosphere of a game, which is music, sounds, and voice. Starting off with music. I feel as if the music in this game will go down in the history books for gaming soundtracks. Every track that plays either fills you with energy and adrenaline to take on the dragon overhead, allows you to reflect and enjoy the amazing scenery as you walk, or even just sit at the main menu screen for far too long listening to one of the most iconic gaming songs of all time. Whichever situation you're in, the soundtrack will enhance it tenfold. Then we move on to sounds.
Hail, companion.
The swords sound sharp, the spells sound deadly, even the caves sound vast and ominous with the ambient sounds that play within them. Each surface has its own distinct sound when you hit it or step on it, and every location has the perfect sounds to make it feel exciting to explore. All the sounds in this game help to add even more to that magical and atmospheric environment. Finally, we have the voice.
Are you High Elf? No, that can't be right. Captain, what should we do? He's not on the list.
Forget the list. He goes to the block.
By your orders, Captain.
Never really die. They only slumber. I think if we had some of the sap from the parent tree, we could wake up its child. But even if you could get to the elderly, you couldn't tap it.
How are you in battle, boy? That's the spirit. Vilkas here will get started on that. Vilkas, take him out to the yard and see what he can do.
Aye.
Every character within this game is voiced, which is an excellent start. All races and types of characters usually have their own distinct accent and way of speaking. Some characters can feel a little boring or dull to speak to, as if they just aren't interested in the slightest, while others feel exciting and invigorating to talk to. One thing that's quite noticeable as you speak to more and more characters is the reuse of voice actors for many of the interactable NPCs within the game. I understand that there's always a budget and a limit of voice actors that can be used, but it seems quite obvious to me whilst playing through sometimes when two characters almost a house apart have the same voice. Next we move on to what is the largest category of these reviews, and that is the gameplay. We're going to start off with the aspects of the game that I consider good or effective within Skyrim Special Edition. There is an absolute ton to talk about, so make sure you strap in and strap on. One of my favourite aspects of this game is the absolutely ridiculous variety of playable builds and classes within the game. This ranges from picking your starting race from a list of 10 different races, all of which have different benefits and disadvantages within game, such as breathing underwater or increased magicka regeneration. From this point, you're able to choose what playstyle suits you best, from sneaking around with a bow or going in fireball spells in hand and incinerating everyone in sight. There are 18 skill trees within the game, making up over 200 perks that can be taken to enhance your abilities. Skill points for each tree are earned by performing that specific skill within the game. For example, if you want to increase your destruction skill tree, then you'll have to use destruction spells against enemies to level up the skill tree. I absolutely love this concept as it rewards you for using the skills you enjoy using and makes sense that you'd get better over time when using a skill regularly. Certain skill trees involve smithing and crafting weapons, armor, potions, and enchanting weapons, allowing you to create your own overpowered set as you progress through the game to provide your character with the buffs you need. The only issue I have with this is there isn't a ridiculous amount of amazing craftable or findable, I guess is the word, armors and weapons. Seems a little bit limited. On top of these skills and abilities, there is the addition of something called a shout, which is a special kind of spell that can release immense power but also has to go on cooldown after using it. These can be used to get you out of some really sticky situations, but you'll also learn not to rely on them too much because of the cooldown. There seems to be plenty of seemingly random encounters as well, where a character will track you down to either talk to you or give you a quest, or someone will hunt you down in an attempt to take your life or to steal from you. These add an awesome feel to the game, and even if they are fully scripted, they still feel random and unexpected. The random encounters also include dragons, which can suddenly attack the area you're in, no matter where you are in the world. It really gets the blood rushing when you're trying to sneak into an enemy camp, and a dragon pops in, ruins your plans, and you have to fight both it and the bandits off at the same time. You can fast travel from any outside location on the map to any marked location where you have discovered, which definitely speeds up travel time if you've already been somewhere. But walking the roads either on foot or horseback really lets you absorb the world fully. You can also buy a house or land in many of the major towns in the game, providing you with somewhere to store your items, and also get married and raise a family if you decide that's something you'd like to do. There are also occasionally persuasion, bribe, or brawl options when speaking to certain NPCs, which can allow you to bypass some meaningless fetch quests or get some information out of someone that you normally couldn't with conventional dialogue. You're able to join a variety of different factions and guilds within the game, from the College of Winterhold, which specializes in magic, to a mysterious group called the Dark Brotherhood, and many, many more in between, all of which will provide you with plenty of quests and unique abilities. The in-game map is also a large 3D map of Skyrim, which I absolutely love and wish more games would do it. The only issue with the map is that it's covered with fog and clouds and makes it quite hard to see some areas of the map and is a little bit annoying. And with that, we'll move on to a few not so excellent aspects of the game. First off is a small one. I got very sick of the lockpicking minigame very quickly. This concept is used in more and more games nowadays for lockpicking, but after lockpicking 6 prison cell doors in a row, it becomes pretty tedious and felt very unnecessary. Some of the movement can feel a little clunky and unresponsive. Sometimes when you jump, you'll land and then kind of shift forward a little in a weird and slightly jarring motion, and the combat is relatively basic, with not really much depth to it besides hitting the same button repeatedly until someone dies. Any quests where you're required to follow a character are usually a struggle. At one point I had to follow a dog for what felt like halfway across Skyrim, and despite me being literally behind him all the time, he kept stopping every 5 to 10 meters and laying down for a second before the game realized I was there. Then he'd get up and walk another 10 meters before doing it again. Other than these small issues, nothing else really stood out to me as a major issue in the gameplay. Now we'll move on to content. How long is the game, and will it give you hours and hours of fun, or will it be over before it really starts? As always, we'll be using the website How Long to Beat in order to determine the length of this game. According to How Long to Beat, if you focus solely on the main story, the game should take around 25 to 26 hours, which is a pretty lengthy main campaign by itself. But good luck completing only the main story. With how many side quests, extra objectives, and exploration opportunities this game includes, if you were to complete some of these things throughout your playthrough, the game might take you around 122 hours. And of course, if you hate yourself or absolutely love the game to death and want to complete everything within it, the game will take you about 214 glorious hours, and this is without the fact that most people seem to do multiple playthroughs of the game. So yeah, the game is absolutely huge and will not allow you to run out of things to do very easily. We've also got to take a look at the performance of the game. Does this ridiculously huge game run perfectly, or will it kill your PC? To start with, I wish the game had native support for ultrawide and a built-in FOV slider, but sadly none of these things exist without editing game files or modding. The game is also capped at 60 FPS, which is supposedly due to the game's physics engine, but I wish it could be raised above 60 without again having to mod and edit the game. But the game does stay at 60 FPS pretty much always, and it very, very rarely drops below that or stutters at all. There is of course glitches and bugs like any Bethesda game. The first major glitch I experienced was as I climbed onto my horse for the first time, my character floated away and then the game basically just broke, which I'll hopefully have a clip of above, and I had to restart from about 30 minutes earlier, which was quite annoying. Other than that, the main issues I experienced were with the physics in-game, making some objects glitch out or fly across the room suddenly. And now, it's story and quest time. Dragons have returned, and it's your job to try and save Skyrim using your newfound Dragonborn powers. Along the way, there is a ridiculous amount of quests to complete, many of which offer a ton of different choices, from being able to side with two warring factions, to choosing whether or not you want to undergo certain transformations. Some quests really left me wanting more out of what happened and some of the characters involved, but sadly, they were sometimes just one-off quests when nothing else came from them, and at other times, there was plenty of opportunity to explore the deeper backstory and lore of those involved in the quests. Some quests are just boring, standard fetch quests, or quests where you have to follow someone slowly, but there are plenty of incredibly engaging and mysterious quests that will just hook you. There is also plenty of opportunity for added lore within the game if you read the hundreds and hundreds of books scattered around Skyrim, all of which are readable and contain pages and pages of lore. Overall, the quests and story in this game are pretty enjoyable, but aren't the main draw of the game compared to the world and exploration. And finally, we have the overall experience and verdict. I played the base game way back in 2011 when it came out, but never really got particularly far through it. But returning to it recently, I've realised just how incredible this game is, and why it's been remade and ported to every device imaginable. The world is one of the best I've experienced in video games. The exploration and incredible RPG system all enhance the game a crazy amount. There are some amazing quests and some bad quests. And of course, some of the textures and animations are a little dated. But overall, this game nails what it means to be an open world RPG. Skyrim Special Edition can be purchased from Steam for $60 Australian or $40 US, but often goes on sale for around 67% off, bringing it down to $19.78 Australian dollars or $13.19 US dollars. Skyrim Special Edition is the newest release of the game with the improved graphics, lighting and textures, and also includes all the Skyrim DLC for free as part of the game. And to end it off and confirm it for all of you, I'd be surprised if many people haven't played this game yet, but if you haven't or you don't currently own a copy, I would highly recommend buying this game at full price or on sale, as it's fully worth the price and more, and even almost 9 years since Skyrim's original release, it's still an absolutely killer and addictive as hell game for almost anybody. Anyway guys, that was my late review for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. If you guys enjoyed this video at all, or if it helped you in any way, shape or form, maybe leave a little baby like, or even subscribe for more late reviews and reviews in the future. And catch you later, everybody.